started. So welcome to Global Alumni Week 2025, everyone. It's nice to have you online. Thanks for everyone joining. So yeah, it's the 2025 edition. My name is Melissa Morley-Weaver. I'm the CEMS Alumni Relations Manager at the Global Office. And I have the pleasure today to work with Leo and Marieke today, who are our 2024 Alumni of the Year winners from mid-career and junior. So Global Alumni Week is every week in the end of March, and we have lots of local and global events around the globe between alumni and students. So the main theme this year is the 35th anniversary of the CEMS Alumni Network. So we can't wait to celebrate with you all. So you want to skip to the next slide? Yeah. So just some housekeeping today. Just make sure that you're muted when you're joining the session. And if you'd like to speak, you can raise your hand. If not, I can also actively unmute you if you'd like to ask your question out loud. And you're also welcome to raise your hand if you'd like to speak. But also feel free to use the chat section or the Q&A to proceed with your questions to talk to our lovely alum. Next slide. Yeah. So let's kick off with Marieke. She's our 2024 CEMS mid-career alum. So it's nice to have you today. And she's in private equity investment director of the Africa at Amethyst. So Marieke is from a small town in the Netherlands, if you believe it or not. She has traveled quite a bit now. And her eyes have always been set on international opportunities to make the world a better place. She's been working in Kenya for 9 years now, putting all of her efforts and creating opportunities in East and Southern Africa for employment, growth, empowerment, and ESG best practices. She has a unique inner energy, as you'll see, that drives her around the world with ease, making connections across the most diverse environments and never choosing an easy path. She is now one of the leading women in investment in East Africa and has brought her expertise to many Kenyan, Ethiopian, and Ugandan colleagues. She's used her CEMS education with McKinsey before as a platform to seize her dream career in Nairobi in venture capital and private equity, and always is eager to continue with people of different cultures. She combines true global citizenship with a huge impact on society through her leading role at ESG and impact investment in East Africa. Her investments to create hundreds of jobs in her work has grown the skills and potential of local talents wherever she goes. And she focuses her career on development and impact rather than only on financial growth, which is quite nice, I think. And is constantly raising the bar in excellence with high standards. New news is that from September 2025, which is just a few months away, she'll be leading Amethyst's new office in Cape Town, which is currently in progress. So lots coming up. Do you want to say a quick hello, Marieke? Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Very good to be here today. And thank you so much, Melissa, for the nice introduction.
Great. Awesome. So as you know, Marieke is an alum from RSM and SSE from 2012. All right. So you want to skip to the next slide so I can introduce Leo? Awesome. Okay. So Leo is joined NUS MSc in the CEMS program in 2022. Despite a lifelong, little accident in Australia, he graduated with excellence in 2023 and delivered an inspiring speech that touched many of us in London. His resilience earned him the Knight of Honor, Order of Merit, of the Italian Republic, recognizing his impact and dedication to freedom and empathy. Leo embodies the core values of CEMS: resilience, empathy, strength, open-mindedness, and courage. Despite facing significant challenges, he has demonstrated how much one can accomplish with determination and the support of a strong community. His involvement in political actions, his advocacy for freedom, and his commitment to leaving a positive mark on society makes him a role model for all of our CEMSies. Not just students, but also alumni, I would have to say, now that you're an alum. Yeah. And Leo's life and achievements are a powerful reminder that anything is possible with hope and perseverance. He is also currently working on gathering a task force for the CEMS Community Support Group. So would you like to say a quick hello, Leo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, welcome. It's a pleasure being here, and thank you, Melissa, for the introduction. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, and so you want to jump to the next slide, Joy? Just a quick reminder that if you are interested in joining the task force of the CEMS Community Support Group, feel free to reach out to us at alumni@cems.org. That'll be coming up quickly, so we'd love to have your input. So we can stop sharing the screen now because we're going to dive into our questions with our lovely guests today. So Marieke, I have a question for you. You've always been a very ambitious for international development and have finally made a great achievements in the investment industry in East Africa. What is the most challenging thing in this process, and how did you overcome it?
Thank you, Melissa. I think two of the main challenges in my career is one was to move to a new country where I'd never been before, actually, with no networks and a very different culture. I remember at the beginning, one of my first weeks in Kenya, I was after work stuck on one side of the road and the Uber driver was on the other side of the road. This was a 6-lane highway where 8 cars were trying to pass at the same time, and I couldn't get to the other side of the road. And so the Uber driver parked his car, ran across the road, grabbed my hand and ran back with me. And I felt like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna live here if I can't even get across the road. And I think that was a symbol for some of the simple challenges I think that you have when you're moving to a new place, just to try to navigate, in this case, very literally, the roads and the ways of a new place. And I think the way to overcome that is just with time to stay curious about this new place, to stay curious about new ways of working, about how things are different, not to get frustrated or look at it purely from your own perspective, and take time to understand why people and things are organized the way that they are. I think that really helped me in that process. And taking things with a bit of humor always helps. And I think the second one is that I was often and still often are. I am still often the only, a bit of an odd one in the room. I'm often the only woman, the only non-African, the only under kind of a certain age, maybe under 40, in a boardroom or in a meeting. And so you're often the one that stands out a little bit, whether it's from an age or background or gender perspective. And I think important there for me is to make sure that you do sit at the table. So take up your space. I focus on what you can bring to the table, which often is a different perspective or certain expertise. And so I think that's helped me a lot to take that perspective as well, and ensure that you have support of your mentors, your managers, the people around you. So I often voice that very proactively as well. The first time I was on the board of a car part manufacturer, I asked my boss, I'm afraid that I'm going to end up being the secretary of this whole meeting instead of being a director. And so he agreed with me to hire a company secretary to take that role, and so that I didn't have to kind of wiggle myself out of it and get coffee for everyone. So I think that's how I try to navigate that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Yeah, great advice for sure. Even crossing the roads as well in many ways. So Leo, in the face of major challenges, especially physical health, how do you adjust mental well-being and return to your career track or passions? How do you overcome these challenges?
Yeah, it's of course it's not easy, but there are a few things that help me a lot. And the first one is for sure people. I've said it many times, and the CEMS community, for example, to me was an incredible help. Being surrounded by people that can always inspire you and bring you to to be prepared on what you're doing, and to be the best version of yourself was the most important thing for me. From the hospital already, I had a huge support from both the offices, from NUS, from the CEMS offices, but also from peers and colleagues. And I remember many times being with people that were helping me in my bed at the hospital to follow lessons and to do my studies. And so this is the first time, the first thing, always be surrounded by people that inspires you and that can give you, and to which you can give something also. The second one was in the hardest time. I remember that challenges were too big for me, definitely, and I couldn't see over those challenges. I couldn't see the summit of the mountain. So what I did was focusing on the little tasks. And so every day I had my tasks, my little planning, and I was just doing the thing that I was supposed to do, nothing more. And I didn't look at the big picture. I was just focusing on my little steps. And this helped me a lot when the challenges were too big. This helped me to do a little bit every day. And then I did it because I graduated on time, and now I'm trying to live a new life. I'm working again, and I'm doing little things. Um, and yeah, was really helpful. And the last one is um, try to have a mission in what you're doing. When you're doing something just because you're supposed to, it's not really motivating. And if everything is okay, then you could do that. But when you have more challenges, like in my situation, it's not enough. So that's why also I engaged so much in politics, because it was really my mission. And when I was working during the campaign for the European elections, I wasn't really feeling the fatigue. I was just working a lot and doing everything I can. And then I remember that after the election, I had 2 weeks where really I couldn't do anything, because I was doing so much before, but I really wasn't feeling the difficulties of what I was doing. So yes, those three things: people, mission, and doing step by step, were really the thing that had me overcoming the challenges that I had in the past.
Okay, good advice for all CEMSies, I'd say. Appreciate your inputs. Great. So Marieke, I have another question for you. We'll get to the Q&A afterwards, but as we come along. But as a female leader in East African investment community, as they say, how do you promote diversification and inclusiveness? Tough at this time of year these days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a very important point, because both in the sector we're working in, so in finance, there's very, very few women working in this sector. I think it's about 12% of all senior investment professionals in sub-Saharan Africa, and actually it's very similar globally, are female. And so the vast majority is male. And also in the countries where I'm operating in, where the private equity sector in particular is still very young. Only 12 years ago did the industry association in East Africa, so the private equity industry association, had 7 members. So 7 companies were part of that organization. Today it's around 120. But it does mean that it's still a very, very young industry as a whole. So it has very few people operating in it, and very few people in East Africa have been trained to operate in this field. And so what we do as a company, and me personally, so as a company, we are part of signatories to the 2X challenge, which aims to invest in companies or grow companies during our holding period that are either majority owned by women, have 30 to 50%, depending on the sector, female employment. 30% of the board directors are women, and focus also on specific products and services that are geared towards women. So it's a scorecard, so you don't have to do everything, but you have to have like a minimum number of points, and we aim for 100% of our portfolio companies to adhere to those to that scorecard. So that's one of the things that I'm very involved in within our portfolio, to ensure that the businesses that we invest in, work towards meeting those challenges. And personally, I'm also part of networks such as the PWIN, which is the Private Equity Women Investor Network, has about 1,000 members across the globe. So I'm active in that. There's a smaller network, obviously, in Kenya of that, senior women investors in Kenya. So I try to be active in those type of networks. Also, we're very active on recruitment for both the fund as well as for portfolio companies. So we're using resources, for example, Boardroom Africa, which have a network of senior female directors, so that you can tap into. So instead of always relying on kind of the old boys network, there's actually organizations out there that say, you know, if you can't find female board members, you're not really looking enough. Here are thousands of them, and they help you find the right talent for the company. So it's very helpful to have those kind of resources as an investor, because you can really make a difference. You're the one deciding who sits in the boardroom. You're the one deciding who becomes the new CEO or CFO. And so we have a big influence, I think, and a big role to play in that transition. And lastly, I'm also active on training in the region. So I work annually. There's a industry organization training program that I train in. I'm a guest lecturer at the Graduate School of Business of the USYD, which is part of the CEMS network. And so I try to also spread, you know, a bit of that expertise that I'm building up over time to further the kind of local talent that's out there in East Africa.
Amazing. Very busy. Both of
Very
you.
busy.
Yeah. So, I mean, because, you know, touching on that, because, you know, you use your voice as well. And I think that's very important. And so the next question is kind of linked to that, but it's more geared towards Leo. As a younger person, how do you make your voice heard? This is quite often the struggle for a lot of young people. And how do you turn hope into action? Maybe you have a magic wand somewhere, Leo, but in the political realm, how do people achieve this is a good question.
It is. It's a good question, and of course, I don't have an answer that could really answer that. But what I can say is that often in CEMS, you expect to finish CEMS, to go out there, and that everyone is waiting for you to come, and that you have all the answers to all the questions. And then sometimes reality then comes up, and you understand that it's not always like this. At the same time, I have to say that I feel like there is a huge expectation on our generation, but also a huge need for people to have someone that can bring his voice and come up with, not with solution, but with a clear view, a vision, and also values. I feel like there is a lack of values in those times. And so CEMS on this is great, because we study business, but we study it in a way that it's somehow different, and it's full of values, full of hope, and full of responsibility on what we're doing. So how can we make our voice got up? I would say that working hard is the first thing, showing seriousness and showing the fact that we are here to do something good. And then be sure on what we're saying. That does not mean be arrogant, of course, but it means that if we have a clear vision and if we know that what we say is the best for people around us, even though in those times is often not shared by people around us. But I feel like continuing on this path and continuing being consistent on what we're saying at some point will bring us the results that we expect. Um, so yeah, and being young, of course, especially in countries like Italy, for example, young people are not always valued as they could. But at the same time, we can earn the respect, we can earn the fact that we can be listened by working hard, by being consistent, by saying things that are fact-based and data-based. And yeah, I feel like there is a lack in this. And so we can be the answer to that. Absolutely.
Okay, great. Put a lot of pressure on the young people, yeah, these days. Okay. All right. Marieke, how do you think your experience of the CEMS program, I know it was 2012, but what do you think was the most meaningful for you and how did it shape you now?
Yes, it does. It does feel like very short, like a short time ago, actually, but it has been a while. I think the most clear and the most evident impact on my daily life is that I met my husband during my CEMS exchange semester. So he's also a fellow CEMSie, and yeah, so I have a daily reminder of the CEMS program and how it connects people. So that's a very evident one, and I think it's amazing to have someone besides you who has the same, as Leo said, has the same values, has the same drive, has the same interest in experiencing the globe with me. So that's really fantastic. I think apart from that, I love being immersed in the CEMS culture. I think for me, kind of coming from a small town and having studied before in a fairly small university, a regional university in the Netherlands, for me, the CEMS exposure really raised my ambition levels and kind of opened the world for me, not just in a geographical way, but also in a, what's the opportunities that I can take. It really showed me through my fellow students to dream big and also to be proud of achievements and ambitions. And I think that's something that for me was really lacking before, where if you were doing well in your studies, if you had dreams, it was kind of, you tried to play them down because it was absolutely not very positive or a very cool thing to have. And I think the CEMS community is very appreciative and very open about those ambitions and those dreams. And I think it's great. For me, it was great to be in that environment.
Okay, great. That's good to hear. Leo, same questions for you. What did you find most meaningful to you about the CEMS community and how did it shape
Yeah.
you? Yeah.
I will repeat myself a little bit, but people were for sure the most important thing. So yeah, what I would suggest is again try to have meaningful relations in CEMS and deep dive on people that you are surrounded by, and also in the studying, I feel like the multitasking and the ethic of work that CEMS gives you is really important in your life then. And another thing that Marieke said, and I think it's extremely important, is being ambitious. And CEMS in this is great. You are really surrounded by ambitious people and also professors and everything you do every day is bringing you to be, I would say, the best way of yourself, the best version of yourself. One thing that sometimes we tend to forget, but I think it's really important, is that ambition is great, but we also need to be patient in our ambition. Sometimes you get out of CEMS and you expect to be already a manager, or you expect to have huge responsibilities, and you get very deceived, and it's frustrating. But if you look at Marieke now, for example, she's there, but she works consistently for years to arrive there where she is. So always have in mind where you want to be, but at the same time, expect that hard work needs also time to arrive where you want to be. And yeah, SEMS can teach you how to be ambitious, but sometimes we rush too much on our objectives. So expect also that word sometimes is lower than we would like it to be.
Yeah, I have to say that coming across many alumni in my current role, there's a different pace when you're an alum as well that you need to consider from before being a student. So that does change. Okay, great. Thank you for those comments. Marieke, what is your next personal goal, you think? And we did mention one project already, but do you have any projects or impacts that you want to achieve in particular? And what do you find most important about that?
Yeah, so it's I think my next goal is pretty concrete. So I'll be setting up our I'm at this new office in South Africa in Cape Town towards the end of this year. Currently busy with setting up the entity, recruiting, looking for office space, etc. So that's a really exciting new goal. And yeah, South Africa is it's a very important market for private equity within the African context. It's of course a very large economy in Africa, and it's an economy that's recovering at the moment with a lot of issues with political instability, with energy crisis, a lot of load shedding, as they call it there. And now you can see that it's recovering slowly, which is very exciting. So it's a very interesting time, I think, to be in South Africa and to support the recovery of that economy with investments in supporting the infrastructure rebuilds, supporting consumer products, supporting the healthcare system. So I'm very excited about that. Personally, I'm also very excited to scale some new mountains and discover some new areas. I love running, trail running in the mountains, and so yeah, definitely be picking some interesting races in South Africa to do. And it's also a great opportunity for me to keep in touch with the CEMS community at the University of Cape Town. So I'm in touch with them regularly now, and it's great to see the excitement of a fairly young CEMS school. They have very few alumni
Yeah,
right
but
there.
they're coming out of the woodworks a bit, huh?
Yeah, they're coming. So it's very they're very precious. They're very appreciative of me as an alumni there. So it's great to be part of that CEMS community in Cape Town as well.
Great. Wow, lots of things coming up. Great. Leo, any goals you have up that are coming up? Would you have any plans?
Yeah. I will very soon start working again. Also in investments in Generali, and so I'm very excited to start this new path and see how it's going after some difficult times, but I really needed a new normality, a new routine. So I'm very excited about that. And also about the political part, I don't really want to give up. So I will probably start new challenges on that, and I'm still figuring out how I'm gonna do it, but I don't want to leave that. So I really think that it's a good time to start bringing up seriousness and values in the political situation. We lacked that a lot in those times, so it's a good time to start again building something. And yeah, then a more personal, but not that personal thing. I'm organizing the Wings for Life World Run here in Aosta, the city where I live. But I would like to invite everyone. We did it 2 years already. The CEMS community did an amazing thing. We have an amazing group in Wings for Life, and I would like to remember to everyone that it is a run that all the money that it's got that they get from the subscription goes to the research for spinal cord injuries. So if you would like, it's the 4th of May, and if you would like to participate, that would be great. And to run all together from Cape Town to Aosta to wherever you are, Singapore, wherever you are, we can run all at the same time, and it's always great to do that. So if you want to do it.
Amazing. We'd love to. Yeah, great. Okay. Well, to recap, I thought we would ask, if you had one piece of advice to our current students or even our alumni out there today. Maybe Marieke, you would like to start? You have a piece of advice for us?
Yes, sure. And I would love to run Leo with all of you.
That's
4th
nice.
of May is my birthday, so it would be
Oh,
a good moment to go for a run. Yeah, advice for current students. I wholeheartedly agree, Leo, with what you just said, and maybe just to build on that a little bit. So the point of patience, and I think students are often asking, should I pick this course or should I take this internship or that one? And I always find it very hard to give a specific advice on that. And what I often say is to think of your career as if you're building blocks. So you're building blocks, and the best way to build a block is kind of like a pyramid. So you need a base that's kind of big enough. So build a wide base of experiences, of interest, of influences, of people. You need to go wide. You need to understand what's important to you, what you like, what you dislike, maybe even more important. And I think that's really, really critical to get that base. And then you gradually build expertise. Then you start going, then you got to start going and build up your pyramids in a certain direction. And I think if you have too narrow a base, it means that you create fragility. So in case you want to change your career, but also maybe in case you have to change your career for whatever reason that might be, it makes it much, much harder. And it makes you very one-dimensional as a person. I think if you can maybe think of people who've built their career or their life that way, they're not very interesting people to meet. And I think if you're, on the other hand, if you're too scattered, if you're too all over the place, then it becomes difficult to advance at some point. It becomes difficult to build on earlier things that you've done, earlier connections that you've made. And so it's not really about any specific block. It's not about this course or this internship or this person, but it's about how you build up that pyramid that ultimately becomes your career or your life. And I think that's kind of the way that I would, I try to think about that as an image in my own life, in my own career.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, well done. Leo, do you have a piece of advice to follow?
yeah, it is very hard after Marieke. She
Yeah,
said
right? I know.
something extremely important. Well, the first piece of advice is very simple, but it's for students. Enjoy it as much as you can. The CEMS program is amazing, and those years, I think for most of people, are the best years of their lives. So enjoy it and don't be too focused on future, but also be concentrated on your present and on how good it is to live those times. Something else will be, again, focus on people. People build things, and companies are built by people, and everything you have around you, it's done by people. So if we can create a strong community, this will help and will beneficiate everyone around us. So yeah, I would say that concentrate on networking, but not just for itself, but because you want to be enriched by people that you meet, and you can understand different thoughts, and you can understand different cultures, different different backgrounds. Um, and if we are able to keep those links also after the CEMS program, I think that this is great, not just for us, but for everyone. And I think that great projects can come from a good relations with your peers, with your colleagues, and with the networks that CEMS offers. Um, and yeah, and then don't forget the values that CEMS brings, and don't forget that everything we're doing it because we believe in something more, in a better world. And yeah, business is a great opportunity to make the world a better place. And I think that if we have this in mind, and if we keep this in mind, even with our little lives and with the little that we can do, but if we are inspired by these values, um, we will be satisfied about what we will do in the future.
Great. Well, I mean, linked to that, we do have a really good question in the chat, since you're on that topic, Leo. You know, do you think there are ways that CEMS can be a little bit more aware of inclusiveness in their meetings, like whether it be a member of a CEMS club or an alum at a local chapter or schools? Do you have any suggestions of as how people could be a bit more aware?
This is not a yeah.
Yeah, a good
This is not
one.
an easy
It's
question.
not an easy question, no.
And I think that, for example, with the community support, we are trying to build that, and we are facing difficulties in how to do this support, community support, but also in how to be as inclusive as possible, building something. I feel like CEMS is already doing a lot about inclusiveness, in the sense that the attention that we put in trying to include everyone, it's really hard. It's a lot. At the same time, CEMS, for many reasons, has some bias on people that are in it, and so. We must never forget that we are special in a way, and that people around us are not always as fortunate as we are. So yeah, maybe keep in mind that we are very lucky in being there. It's a good way to start an inclusiveness that can go beyond CEMS and beyond our little cult, or our little network, let's say. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, to be humble is very important for sure. Okay, we do have another, thanks, Leo. We do have one more question also for Marieke. It's more about handling the struggles with managing to find the right words to speak with perhaps your superior or your boss, and not wanting to be their secretary. You know, how do you prepare beforehand, and how are you able to overcome this fear of conflict that it might create?
Yeah, I think in general it's a constant struggle for me to not be afraid of conflicts. I think it's something that's very important in life and in business. There is if you can be very comfortable with uncomfortableness, it's very good. It's very, very helpful. But in this particular case, I think I had a very good relationship with my boss, and yeah, I had a good moment. I think we went out for dinner to celebrate that we closed the transaction and to kind of discuss what we wanted to do now with the business. You know, what the next steps were going to be. And so it was a natural moment to bring up this concern. And yeah, I think in general it's good to create those moments on a regular basis. Where you are comfortable speaking to whoever is managing you, to voice concerns or questions or issues or ideas outside of the day-to-day. So I think as soon as you have that communication channel established, it makes it a lot easier to discuss those kind of things.
Okay, well done. Yeah. It's not easy, but yeah, it's necessary. Yeah, obviously. Okay, great. This is kind of our last chance for you to ask any more questions, but if not, we'll kindly wrap up. Going once, going twice, but I think, you know, we really enjoyed your chat today. Appreciate all your insights. You know, as you can see from any stage of your CEMS experience as an alum, you know, you have different challenges and obstacles that can come your way. But I think, you know, having that foundation of CEMS does truly help you get through that. And it also allows you to make those connections with people at the end of the day that can make your life much more enhanced, but also life-changing. So I think, you know, you're both on the right track. And we do have more questions. Okay, you guys got it just in time. Okay, so we do have a comment from Hannah, says she really loves hearing from your experiences, Leo and Marieke, so thank you so much. And we have one last question, which is, you mentioned both that the network and people. How can I convince my cohorts to join my networking events? What's a good incentive? Maybe I start with Leo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So first off, the best way to engage people, in my experience, is to give them responsibility. So maybe your networking event could be the networking events of everyone, and if you build it together, I'm sure that everyone will be extremely happy then to participate, and we feel the responsibility to do that. And maybe you can also enlarge your events if there are more people that are organizing it. So first of this. Second, sometimes, and I would say always, the most difficult part is the start. So it's really hard to start the event, but then the people know each other and you give some benefits from it, you have a good time. And so usually then the start is really difficult, but then it goes almost on its own. And maybe the last thing is, because starting is so difficult, try to do not simple networking event, but something that could be fun for everyone. I remember in my days in Singapore, in Lisbon, but the first times is always something very fun, a dinner, karaoke, travel, a trip, something that could be fun, and then relations starts building, and then from that on, it's really easy usually.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So we do have another question, an anonymous question. But is it what's a good way to approach alumni and connect with you? Marieke, maybe you want to take this first. It's a good way.
Yeah, I think one way is through the schools. Yeah, as I said, I'm connected to now actually more to UCT than to my own two schools. But that's one way to connect with people. And then I also often connected with people through LinkedIn, just by sending them a message and saying, hey, we're working in the same field, we're working in the same geography, we're working in the same things, do you want to connect over something specific? I think that's generally a reasonable way to reach out as well.
Okay, great. Leo, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just add that I'm the worst person to ask that because it doesn't look like, but I can be shy and I hate to disturb people. But now that I'm on the other side, I love receiving messages, asking questions, asking recommendation. So absolutely do it. LinkedIn is probably the perfect platform, but sending up a message, try to get a call, something like this. It's always a pleasure for us, even when in the busy period. But it's always nice to receive messages from the CEMS community. So just do it and don't be scared of disturbing people. Absolutely.
Yeah, you need to play your CEMS card for sure.
Exactly.
Exactly. So we do have another question for Marieke. It's more towards your field. So what is the general perception in the financial sector towards ESG in terms of considerations for investments in Africa in your experience?
Yeah, I think it's compared to investments elsewhere on the globe, it's baked into investments in Africa. There's the vast majority of private investments in Africa have some component, either directly or indirectly, of development finance funding. So for example, we're a commercial fund, but about 30% of our funding comes from development finance institutions. And that means that in each of our investments, we are not only looking at financial returns, we're also looking for a positive impact. So that's, from an ESG perspective, generally starts from reducing the risks, right? So avoiding doing no harm, but also to look at the positive impact. And we have a very detailed framework that we're using, which includes improving the quality and availability of goods and products to the African consumer. It includes environmental concerns, so reducing the CO2 emissions, for example, or waste management. We're looking at providing quality jobs, so both the quality of each job as well as the number of jobs that we're creating within the company, and how those are distributed, so youth, gender, etc. So we have a very detailed framework and a very detailed action plan for each of our investments, and I think that is much more the standard than what it is in other markets, where it's often either a negative check, so no oil and gas, no tobacco, but all the rest is fine. Much more than a proactive approach within each of the companies.
Maybe you'll recruit a few CEMSies after this call, I think.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Speaking of new roles, Leo, big congrats we have from the Q&A to your new role. And what are some of your new things that you'll be doing in your position?
This is a very good question because I don't really know yet.
Okay.
No, but
Okay.
I will be in the investment part of Generali, that is a huge insurance company in Italy. Is the biggest Italian company, and I will follow some projects on the change management and on the implementation of technologies in the company, about investments. But I will tell you more when I will start, for sure.
Right. Sounds good. Keep us waiting in the bear. Okay, that's good.
Exactly. I will keep you updated. Yeah.
But we do have, I think there's a student in the audience who would like to know if you have any tips about Singapore, any recommendations? Oh, the list could be long.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe one or
First
two.
off,
Yeah.
exactly. First
Yeah.
off, bring a very light induments wearing because it's super hot and super
Yeah.
humid. So be
Mhm.
ready to that.
Mhm.
Prepare a lot of um, how can I say? Yeah, no, I won't say that, but you will do a lot of trips and a lot of travel, so be ready for
Mhm.
that. And then about Singapore, it's an amazing city, amazing people. Say hi to all the offices; they are superb. And yeah, you will have an amazing time. But if you want to say more, if you want to talk about that more, you can write me in private and I can give you some suggestions for sure.
Okay, top-notch advice. Great. Okay. Maybe one last question, which is really to Marieke. Do you have any advice you give young women who aspire to leadership positions?
Yeah, I think it's always, I mean, it's the age-old advice to lean in into yeah, to say yes to opportunities and say yes to things that come your way. I think that's a very important one, and to create people around you who are willing to um, not mentor you in the way that they need to coach you or need to give you advice. I prefer to look at mentors as people who defend you when you're not in the room. So who are there in meetings where promotions are being discussed, or decisions are being made of who's going to open the office in South Africa. Like, you need to have people who are in that room who need to make that decision for you, and who will defend you and who will fight for you. And I think that's the kind of people that you need to be very, yeah, you need to cherish. And I've been very lucky to have a couple of those over my years. And so I think that the kind of the mentorship has been a little bit transformed, has been a little bit misused, that term, as if, all women need hand holding to go through the day. I think we're very, very capable of doing that. And so I think that's the way I would define that mentorship, is to have people who, yeah, who go to war for you, so to say.
All right. Well, we definitely have you two as fighters for sure, for our future. So that's great. Well, I wanted to thank you again for your time. I think we'll wrap it up now. But wonderful conversation. Thank you for answering all of our questions and providing the community with some great advice. So maybe we just have a few wrap-up announcements. So maybe Joy, you could share the slides again really quickly. That'd be lovely. Thank you. So yeah, just a reminder that, our alumni network does have a lot of amazing people in them, and you just met two of them today. So, we have over 21,000 alum now. All these amazing local chapters around the globe. So really try to connect locally. Maybe one will pop up in South Africa soon. And then the CEMS entrepreneurs as well. With our alumni mentors, we have over 1,200 of them now. And the advisory committee as well. They represent the alumni voice on our governance. So go ahead and jump to the next slides. Speaking of our advisory committee, there they are. They're really happy to hear from you. So please reach out when you can at alumni@cems.org. We'd love to hear from you. And the next slide is really to mention that we do have these mentors, as Marieke has talked about. So yeah, they're located around the globe. So really take advantage of those CEMS alumni that are there to talk to you. It's open to all students and alum, even peer-to-peer alumni engagement. So really tap into it where you can. As Marieke says, you need fighters on your side. Yeah. And then the next slide, Joy, is really to announce that, yeah, we have 35 years of the CEMS Alumni Network, guys. It's a big thing. So we'll be celebrating in Lisbon. Leo is already going to be there. I will be too. Yes. So if you could join us, that'd be great. If not, don't worry, we'll find other ways to celebrate. But we look forward to having you there. So check that out, and tickets are still available. So go for it. And then one last announcement is really just, yeah, Global Alumni Week events will continue throughout the week. So really check out the agenda, whether it be social or professional. We also have our rotational industry chat on Friday. So check that out with some great alum. But we have events from Chile, Singapore, Vienna. There's really a lot going on. So check it out. People really take the time to engage with you all. So really dive into your network, as we say. But thank you once again for all your time today. Appreciate it. I'll let you know when the recording's ready, guys. And have a great day, and we'll be in touch.